And the NWSL now has a partnership with Fanatics Sportsbook, which first of all, I was like FanDuel. And then I was like, wait, Fanatics? The like fan shop has a sportsbook now. And apparently they've had a sportsbook since last year. Why?
Yeah, they're like trying to be juggernauts and everything, but they're not even good at the thing that they're supposed to do, which is make merch. They're bad at it.
And like
WNBA is like the perfect example of that.
Like Nike's going to come out with a sports book now. Like I don't understand where is the line? Like where does it end?
This is turning into
like
the cable.
This
is like cable versus streaming. Like it's so oversaturated at this point. It's about to like just lose its luster because this is out of control.
It's way too much.
Well,
there's
anyways,
prop bets for everything.
Yeah, there is a prop bet for everything. There's probably a prop bet right now that this was a cold open.
There's a prop. Yeah.
Going up.
Hi, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Flagrant Femmes. I absolutely cooked the books on that cold open. I lured Maddy right into it and executed it perfectly. I'm getting so much better at it. As always, I'm your co-host, Kinsey. Shout out to everyone tuning back in so quickly after our return episode earlier this week. We're knocking this one out quickly just because the other half of this podcast is going on her Cash App brand trip to Seattle this weekend. Very influencer, very on top of it. No, I'm just kidding. All kidding aside, Maddy, what is the vibe knowing that you're going out to a Storm game for the first time this season?
I am so excited, honestly. I'm going to visit my college best friends, my roommates, and we're all going to be together for the first time in 3 years. So I'm really excited for that. And obviously, I'm like so excited to see the Storm, and I'm going to get to see Rakia. I haven't seen Rakia yet, so it's just going to be a win-win experience. I'm stoked. Plus, the weather is going to be so nice. So I'm finally going to get out of the heat. It's supposed to be like 60, 65.
65? Oh my God. We both live in the desert, have been literally just rotating like rotisserie chickens for 2 months, 3 months straight. So, I mean, it's 100 outside and I'm like, oh, it's so great, but 60.
118 straight days in Arizona, over 100, or in where I live, over 100 degrees. 118 days.
But listen, I will always stand. I don't know how you feel about it. I don't think we've ever discussed this. But I will always stand on the fact that I would rather be hot than cold. Like I lived in Denver and I hated it. I hated the winter. I hated how cold it was. And it doesn't even get that cold in Denver. So I'd rather suffer for 3 months and it be 70 for like
I feel like that's because you're from Texas though, no?
Yeah, but it wasn't. I mean, it got cold in Texas too, where I'm from. I mean, it was still in the 40s and 30s in the winter.
In the 40s and 30s.
I mean, that's pretty cold if you live out west.
Well, in Texas, that's pretty cold. You're right.
Yeah. But no, you know what? I will put up with it. I will deal with it. But no, it sounds like it's going to be incredible weather, and it's pretty amazing that you were blessed by the blessed. I can't even talk. Blessed by the Cash App Ferry and get to go to a game while you're back home. So that's dope. My friend and co-host deserves nothing but the best, and that's just a fact. So now we just need to get you to Vegas for a game next season, and that's actually a plug from Kate because Kate is she's the friends need to come visit person. Like she's constantly trying to get all of our friends to come visit. She constantly asks me to ask you for you and Kara to come visit. So do you care to offer a response on the record for Kate so you can get her off my back?
We are coming to visit next season. We are going to be there. Guaranteed.
There.
Stamp it.
It's
Kate,
official.
I promise we will be there.
Stop asking me. They're coming.
It's like, and Kara knows too, because I have a bucket list to see a WNBA game in every arena. I want to see every arena. So I mean, Storm is next. The fact that I haven't been to a Storm game is truly like so insane and sad, honestly. But Aces is next, so one more off the list. There we go.
Yeah, I feel like we need to almost like turn it into like a let's get the pod to every WNBA arena, because I haven't been to that many either. So
Someone
I literally
hit
live
us
in
up.
DC, and yeah, you know what? If you want to actually have a brand trip, we're right here. We will go
Come
rep
on.
your brand and go to all the WNBA arenas
We
next
will
year.
travel
So
the nation. We will go anywhere and everywhere
yeah,
and visit every
absolutely.
arena. We will make all the content your heart could ever desire.
And remember, this is the viral queen over here. Maddy is the social media viral queen. So like somebody should just take a chance, see what happens. You never know. Look at us ad-libbing and groveling for a free trip or trips.
Hey, some call it
Somebody just
groveling, some call it manifesting.
that's very true. That's very true. All right. We kind of underestimated the fact that there were only a handful of games between now and Monday when our last episode came out. So we kind of have a little bit of an unorganized episode again, but plenty to discuss. We've got Miss Cathy's drama. We've got the greatness that is Asia Wilson. We kind of talked earlier about turning this into just a roast of Cathy Englebert, but it might wind up being that way anyway. So we'll dive into all this.
Already her fault too. The schedule is her fault. So I mean,
I was actually going to bring that up later, and it's just it's going to be bad.
and Asia Wilson's greatness is one thing, but the lack of coverage of her greatness ties back to Cathy too. So honestly, we're 3 for 3 on Cathy issues so far, if you ask me.
Yeah, and it took her acting the way she did, it took away from the greatness that was Asia Wilson. Let's just get right into it, because we're here, we're already yelling, we're already complaining. If somehow, some way you didn't know, Asia Wilson set the single season scoring record last night in a win over the Fever. Beat the Fever, haha. She did it in true Asia fashion. She caught the ball at the top of the key, turned full speed, and did a pull-up jumper at the free throw line right in Aaliyah Boston's face. Not meaning to shade Aaliyah Boston, it would just happen to be Aaliyah. Although the Fever broadcast ignored it like completely and entirely, and I'm not kidding you, without a single mention, it was just like a regular old play to them. I ripped my shirt off like a frat boy at a darty and yelled at the top of my lungs. Maddy, what was the moment like for you witnessing Asia put the cherry on top of probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, individual season in league history?
Well, when I saw the schedule, I was really nervous because it was the first game and it started at the same time that I got off work and I had to drive home, obviously. So I was really worried because if you know anything about Asia, all season in the first quarter, she's been absolutely cooking. So I was like, there's very good chance that she'll get all 12 of those points right in the first quarter before I even get home. But luckily she only scored 10. So I got home. I didn't see her tie it, but I ended up seeing her break it. So I was very happy. And even though I was equally annoyed that the broadcast did not acknowledge it whatsoever, I still think I was just so happy for Asia and just so like, it was so cool. Last year, I got to see Jewel break the record, obviously. And then now to see Asia break her record this year, it just feels like, honestly, an example of the way that we always talk about this league has been on an upward trajectory long before the rookies, who are obviously doing incredible things, historic things in this season. But the trajectory we've been on this trajectory, and that's what we're talking about. Jewel set the single season record last year. Now Asia's breaking that record. So the vets in this league are really incredible, and they're doing so many incredible things. And I just think it's really cool that we get to witness that.
And speaking of Jewel Lloyd, I'm sure most of you follow us on Twitter and that's how you found us or whatever, but Maddy finally had like one of our first big banger tweets on the account today. Shout out Maddy, using that hilarious meme where Asia and Jewel were staring back at each other and comparing Asia breaking the scoring record. It's perfect. I rolled out of bed. I looked at my phone. There was a tweet with 14,000 likes, and Maddy was excited in our DM. So love that. Another great job. This is literally just like I'm pumping your tires the whole time because that's how amazing you are. Anywho, back to Asia Wilson because she deserves some glory too. I touched on it earlier this week, but I really don't think the Aces are anywhere near the place they are right now without the individual season Asia's having. Like last night, I think was the perfect vacuum to view it in, and that she scored 27 points, and the rest of the starters combined for 29. And we're talking about like Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Plum. Like these are Olympians. These are not schlubs. And Asia was the only starter in plus minus. I'm very much keeping an eye on plus minus this year. Only one in the positive plus minus as a starter. Outplayed her. That pretty much means she outplayed her starter teammates on both ends of the floor. Maddy, can you just give me a monologue about the impact that Asia has had on the Aces this season?
Well, I could talk about Asia Wilson literally all day if I had the opportunity, but I will say Nikias Duncan, my fave from the dunker spot, shout out Nikias. He put out a thread earlier today talking about some of Asia's stats this season. You should go check it out if you haven't already. But part of that was Asia is averaging career highs. Literally, listen to this. Career highs in points. Mind you, she's won MVP before. Let's just make that clear. Sorry. Asia is averaging career highs in points, rebounds, steals, and blocks. So 4 of the 5 major stat categories, she's averaging career highs. She's also improved her assist category from last season. It's not a career high technically, but alas. All of that, while her turnovers and fouls have decreased. Mind you, she's also playing 3 more minutes than she played last season per game. Her fouls and turnovers have decreased. So essentially, she has improved her game in every meaningful way you can improve. She's a better scorer. She's a better rebounder. She has a higher assist to turnover ratio. She is better on the defensive end. She is everywhere doing everything on the basketball court. On top of that, she's been efficient while she's been doing it. Here are her splits: 68% field goal in the restricted area, 50% in the paint, 47% from mid-range. She's the only player hitting 65, 45, 40 splits in those areas. And the reason those are the areas is Nikias knows what he's talking about. So just listen to him. That's all I'm saying. So when you add all of this up, she is having one of the most dominant seasons, not just in WNBA history, not just in basketball history, but in sports history. And if you don't believe me, ask David Dennis Jr., because he just said it on Across the Horn for me. So he literally works for ESPN. So if you don't want to believe me, she is literally having one of the best single season performances of any athlete in the history of sports. Whoever you're thinking about, Tom Brady, Serena Williams, whoever your sports GOAT is, whatever sport you're into, whatever their peak season was, that's where she's at. 92 Jordan, 13 LeBron, she is right there. I am telling you. There's nothing, there are no words. There's not even a way to, there's nothing to compare it to. It just is what it is, period. There's no way to downplay it. There's no way to discredit it. The only way you can do that is if you are genuinely being a delusional hater. And I mean that with the most disrespect I could possibly mean it.
We're talking about the stat patter people, by the way. Ooh, Asia's padding her stats. She's out there padding her stats. Tell me this is the first time you've ever watched the WNBA without telling me, because you just got a whole paragraph on how incredible her season has been. Not only the impact that's had on her team, but just like in sports, in comparison to all of sports. This is an all-time great season. It was not built by stat padding. It was not built by stat padding. Last year, she lost an MVP award because she was not played enough. And if that happened to the people who like to engage in the stat padding stuff, they're the same people that would get incredibly upset If that happened to their fave, I'm just saying. So let's just go outside, touch some grass, find a hobby, kiss someone, do something besides sit on Twitter and talk about stat padding, because it's dumb. It's stupid. Let's stop it. And also, if we're going to be bagging on people, let's just keep bagging on people. The Fever's broadcast team, we talked about it just a second ago, but like, how do you just ignore what's at stake in that moment when Asia Wilson makes that basket? Is it because your team, your bum team, is down 12? Is it because your heroine was 1 of 10 from 3? Is it jealousy? Maddie's just gone. I was going to ask Maddie for her thoughts. Maddie's just gone. That's how stunned she is by what the Fever broadcast crew is doing. I can still hear you, so I just need your thoughts right now on that absolute disaster of a moment.
Here's my thoughts. My thoughts are, it's insane. It's insane that in a moment of that level of gravity where she's literally breaking the single season record, they would just not even mention it. And I was waiting, I was like, maybe, not right in the moment. They're like, there was nothing, like the entire, they didn't say anything, nothing. It was absurd. And people started coming with this argument like, well, it's a home broadcast. Like, what do you expect them to talk about the opponent? Yeah, when it's something historic like that. And in case you were curious, multiple broadcasters have said that they would have mentioned it. I can guarantee you Dick Fane would have mentioned it if they were playing the Storm on a Storm home game. I can promise you Dick Fane would have been hyped, absolutely hyped, for Asia to break the record. So there's no reason. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're home or away. Greatness is greatness, and we acknowledge greatness. Period. End of discussion.
Yeah, like, you want to talk about, oh, it's giving jealousy, they're jealous. That's jealous behavior. That's weird. That's weird. That's jealous. That's catty. That's what you're talking about. Ignoring like a record being broken like that. Because if it was any other sport, I promise you, it's on national television. First off, it's on some sort of national television. There's a whole hour pregame show dedicated to this record. There's a countdown. I mean, we saw Caitlin Clark. I mean, obviously that's, the NCAA scoring record got broken, and we saw the whole drama of counting down Caitlin Clark, the points, the television, like, it was a whole dog and pony show. And for it to just go by, I mean, you can go back and look at the call. It was literally just like, and Asia Wilson hits a 2-point jumper. The Aces go up by 12, and Asia's just jogging back down the floor while the bench is going bananas behind her. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. I'm not going to complain about it anymore, but there you go. That's my soapbox. Anyways, although Asia did set the scoring record on Wednesday, which she did in 35 games, by the way, not a big deal, she's still chasing after another record, which is the first ever 1,000-point season in league history. It's never been done. And in addition, she's also on pace to break Diana Taurasi's single season points per game record, which is 25.29. That was set in 2006. 2006. It is 2024. That's how long that record has stood, and how incredible this season has been for Asia Wilson that she's in the mix to break that too. Maddy, she's 44 points away from 1,000. That means she needs 11 points per game to get there. That's her lowest scoring game, by the way, of 2024 was 11 once. So barring anything crazy that we will not speak into the air, we will not think about, we will not manifest in any way, shape, or form, it's not more of a win, or it's more of a win, not really an if. It's prediction time. When does Asia Wilson get to 1,000 points?
I mean, just based on what she's been doing all season, putting up 25 plus points a night every game, I think most likely she's going to do it against the Sun on Sunday. But selfishly, I kind of hope either she just breaks it all tomorrow in one fell swoop and just drops 50, Or she kind of spreads it out and maybe she has some big rebound games but doesn't score as much, and then she can break it Tuesday against the Storm, just because I'm going to be at the Storm game on Sunday and stupid Cathy scheduled them at the exact same freaking time. So I'm not going to be able to watch her break the damn I'm going to have to watch her break the damn record on my phone while I'm at the Storm game I'm probably going to be crying.
There's like 9 WNBA games all at 5:30. There's not even that many teams in the league, but somehow there's that many games, like all at 5:30 at the same time. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. We're very close to getting to roasting Cathy, so that's why the temperature's starting to rise. But I would, to your first point, I would love to see her drop 44 against Indiana. It would be hilarious. But I would love to see her do it at home, honestly, just to do something in front of the fans. You know, she's won 2 titles now on the road, so it would be cool to get to do something like that and celebrate it in front of her fans. But if she does keep up that pace, which has kind of been, you know, the 26, 27 points a game, she will break it at home against Connecticut. And I could see it shaking out that way because there is no cheaper tent ready to fold faster than the Connecticut Sun playing in Vegas. That's just a straight up fact. I guess there's a world in which she does it on the road in Seattle, which is sandwiched between 2 home games. That would be sad. I guess we'll see. Storm fans are smart basketball fans, though, so I know they would go nuts and give her the level of respect that she deserves for it. But I just gotta say, I'm very proud of Asia Wilson and everything she's accomplished this year and how she's quite literally been the spark that has kept the fire alive for the Aces basically all season amidst everything going on. So speaking of going nuts, we have finally made it. WNBA Commissioner Cathy Englebert sent fans and players alike into a frenzy on Monday morning after making insensitive comments. I'm just that upset. I'm reading it in monotone. During an interview on CNBC, so the anchor on this show, Tyler Matheson, asked Cathy how to stay ahead of that or act as a league when 2 of your most visible players are involved in regards to a major uptick in racist, homophobic, misogynistic behavior on social media. You guys have seen it. We've been in the trenches with it all season long. Cathy swung and completely missed, like cartoon level spun around with the bat and fell to the ground. It was a softball question. And she pretty much just conflated the horrendous behaviors of fans on social media with like rivalry and revenue. And she literally said verbatim, "You need rivalry. That's what makes people watch. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals. They don't want to watch everyone be nice to each other." That was not that was not the question. That was not the answer to the question that was asked. Maddy, you and I, especially you, have been on the front lines of this fan war all season long. We spent the first few episodes of this podcast constantly calling out racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia. It's never been as prevalent as it is this season. So how badly did Cathy miss on this issue?
Honestly, she almost could not have had a worse answer. Like, outside of explicitly endorsing racism, I mean, it couldn't have gotten worse. Like, honestly, it could not. When I initially saw the quotes come out, I was like, ooh, yikes. And I was like, I wonder what the question was. I wonder what the context was there. Because I was thinking in my head, sometimes they ask these kind of like questions where you can kind of beat around the bush and get away with it. No, this man asked her point blank about racism and misogyny that her players in the league that she is the commissioner of are experiencing. And she said, quote, ignore it, that she would tell the players to ignore it. We are not talking about people commenting, you suck. We are not talking about people commenting, you shot bad, you rebounded bad, whatever, you fucked up my parlay. We are talking about people having their picture superimposed onto George Floyd. We are talking about genuine neo-Nazi symbology and groypers and like white supremacist groups co-opting the WNBA for their culture war narratives. It is beyond depraved, and it's genuinely dangerous. Like, these people are dangerous. This is not to be fucked with. This is not to be played with. This is not a fucking joke. These are not regular trolls. These are not regular sports fans. These are dangerous, violent, racists, and misogynists. It is scary. And the fact that she straight up said from her white woman glass box, like, ignore it. Just ignore it. Just turn off the comments. Don't read the comments. Shut the hell up. Like, genuinely, how dare you even, like, how dare you even say that? I don't think she should ever show her face again after that, like, genuinely. And then her apology, her, like, the follow-up tweet where she's like, anyways, I don't actually support racism, in case you guys were wondering. Here, damn.
12 hours to put out, by the way. And it's funny that it comes, by the way, right on the heels of Taylor Swift endorsing Kamala Harris and Caitlin Clark liking that post. But I'm sure you've seen a little bit of it on social media today, but these people that we're talking about, they flipped 180. Now they don't like her. Now they're mad at her. It's a psyop. It's all out of, like, this is just who these people are. They're not people who like basketball. They're not people who care about women. They're not people who give any shit about the WNBA. There's people who want to hide their crazy beliefs behind a shield. They want a scapegoat. So we've talked about it before, how people are people who use Christianity as a shield for just the fact that they're hateful people. This is exactly what it is, and they're doing it with Caitlin Clark, which is unfair to Caitlin Clark. It's unfair to basketball fans. It's unfair to women. Like, it's out of control. And for the commissioner of this league to just say ignore it, I genuinely don't know what to do. The players were reacting pretty much instantly alongside the fans the morning that happened and throughout the afternoon. DJ Carrington quote tweeted you, and you had said it's unbelievable how bad Cathy misses the mark here, like with the video of her talking about it and flubbing that answer. And Dejanay like posted a GIF, and it was just like the classic, like, I'm over this, like, eyes rolled, walking away. Stephanie Dolson, the Mystics center, she's the team's WNBPA rep, said to Kareem Copeland from the Washington Post, obviously, I think Cathy's response was not the correct way to answer the question. As much as we love rivalry in sports, we don't stand for that. That should have been the first thing out of Cathy's mouth. We don't stand for that. She went on to continue to say there's no room for racism, bigotry, and homophobia. None of that is appropriate, and for fans to say anything like that to any player is appropriate. That was followed up by statements from the WNBPA itself. Breanna Stewart said something. Like, everybody, whether it was an official statement or not, were all denouncing Cathy's comments. So we've already talked about the lack of preparedness by the league on seemingly common stances, like pregnancy protections. And this isn't the first time that Cathy's found herself in a league-wide controversy with players. Are these comments from her grounds, in your opinion, for change with the new CBA on the horizon?
As the great Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And I think this is as good an example as any of that. She was asked point blank about racism and bigotry in the league, and she said, ignore it. She had multiple opportunities because he tried to save her ass too. That's the craziest part, is that he tried. He said, let's get back to the point, ma'am. You can just literally, it's so easy to just throw in we don't support any of that. Like, who, here's my question. And I just have to say this because I feel like I haven't seen enough people talking about this aspect of it directly. If you are afraid to denounce racism, there's only one reason you're afraid to denounce racism. And it's because you are afraid of alienating racists. And in a league that is predominantly Black women, Black queer women at that, exposing them to a bigoted fan base is irresponsible at best. So I think that like we need to, start addressing that aspect of things more. Like you are literally pandering to racists directly by refusing to answer that question on CNBC of all outlets. So it's disgusting. It's reprehensible, and it was calculated because they were asked that. She knew that question was coming. That's how these things work. She knew that question was coming. They had an answer. They had an answer prepped. So you can't be like, well, she was on the fly. She didn't know what to say. No, she knew what she was going to say, and she answered the question exactly how she wanted to. And her answer was fucking horrible. And she should know better. She's a 60-year-old woman. There's no fucking excuse. She worked at fucking Deloitte. She's on a board that's supposed to be about empowering women. I don't want to hear any of it. I don't want to hear any excuses about it. You simply cannot miss that bad in the year 2024 when your players, white players at that, Brianna Stewart, Steph Dolson, all these players are coming out and making statements that are much better than yours, like off rip, just being asked questions by reporters. Like, that's a problem. There's no excuse not to explicitly denounce that behavior, especially when your league has a history of activism the way that this league does. Like, how are you so fucking stupid? What did she think was going to happen? The players were just going to let it fly? Sorry, that's the end of my rant, but it's just the last thing I'm going to say is I don't want to hear anything more about it won't stop people if she's going to say, oh, don't be racist. And then racists are going to listen and stop. That's not the point. That is not the point. You should denounce racism just because it's the right thing to do. Just because it's the right thing to do to say, no, we don't tolerate that. We don't act like that around here. Like, when did morality become like it's not worth it just because they're not going to change their behavior? No, it's worth it because it's not okay to be a fucking racist.
I think I'm at the point where I just feel like I can't trust her. And I think that's a similar sentiment that I've seen from other WNBA fans on my timeline, just kind of in the reaction on Twitter, is that they just feel like they can't trust her, that the league has lost the fans' trust, and it's going to be very difficult to get it back. And to me, the whole thing is just giving like self-serving Snake. Like, she has dollar signs in her eyes. She has nothing else going on because she just sees the opportunity to just make money and make money and make money. And we're coming off of a conversation on literally Sunday on Monday's episode that we questioned her experience and the lack of preparedness this league had as it pertained to Dearica Hamby and Skylar Diggins-Smith and their pregnancies. And I understand that this league needs to grow, and I understand that revenue is important. I get it. But I feel like at some point you just have to draw a line where treating the dollar is more important than treating the person. Like, we can't just go on like every other entity in this world and just treat money more important than the person. So it feels like we're really at a crossroads where like the players have an opportunity going into this new CBA to try and establish as many protections for themselves as possible. I don't know who they need to have in that room to get those things done, but I really feel like they need to be as self-serving as possible when coming up with the CBA, and because I'm not confident in the leadership of this league to take care of its players. It took Cathy 12 hours to issue a statement to clarify her comments. I don't trust this league to take care of its players. I don't think I really ever have, but that trust is fully gone. So do you feel confident at this point in league leadership, given what we've seen over the last mean, not even year, but just several years or so as the league has started to turn the corner.
No, I don't feel confident at all, even less so because last night it also came out that the WNBA is basically filed to have Dearica Hamby's lawsuit dismissed, which is unsurprising. Like, that's what happens in these situations. But that doesn't mean that it's any less fucked up. They literally basically just outline and call her a straight up liar and just said she has no proof that any of this happened and she's a liar and we don't care and she has no claim, which is fucked. So no, I don't trust them at all. And I think you're absolutely right that there comes a point when you have to prioritize your values over money. And I also think what Cathy and WNBA higher ups, obviously I'm not a business person. I don't know the first thing about business, but I will say that from my perspective, I think it could end up being very short-sighted from a business perspective for them as well to continue to go down this road, because the reality is that the WNBA has built a very strong, established fan base over their almost 30 years of existence. And the fan base hasn't always been enormous in terms of size, but it's been very consistent and very stable. And what the WNBA is doing right now is alienating a lot of their core fan base in favor of this new fan base that they're curating. And I think in the long term, that could end up being very problematic for them, because what they don't understand is that a lot of the new fans that they have are very volatile and are not drawn to the league for the same reason that core fans are drawn to the league. And I think that ultimately, if they continue, if they leave Cathy as a commissioner and she's going to continue to pursue this growth at all cost perspective, which I think is very common in the business world, it's just grow, 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 grow at any cost for any reason, just because you can grow and make more money. And you're not realizing that eventually you're gonna crash out and it's all gonna go to shit. And that's what I really fear, honestly. And I fear they're gonna overexpand. I fear they're gonna add too many games. I fear all of the things that are going to happen to this league to just make it worse. So unironically, right now, I feel like the NWSL has better leadership than the WNBA, which is really, really, really saying something.
That's a low bar.
A lot of problems with NWSL leadership. So honestly, I was thinking about this earlier when we were writing down ideas for this show, and I was thinking about it, and it dawned on me that Cathy is a fucking DEI hire. That's what she is. If you know anything about DEI, you know that white women, myself, have actually benefited from DEI more than any other group. And Cathy is the perfect example of that. Adam Silver hired her. He hired the businesswoman from Deloitte who broke glass ceilings. And she is like she is a fucking DEI hire. He hired a woman. So say he hired a woman, and she showed up with her ill-fitting Deloitte blazers, with her girl boss feminist bullshit. And it has panned out exactly how it would pan out. Like, if Lena Dunham ran the league, this is what it would fucking look like. It's bullshit, and I'm sick of it. Like, it's just so infuriating. Like, oh my God. And honestly, I'm going to say this again, as a white woman, a card carrying white woman, I have to say, I am not sure that we are qualified for the position. Like, there is a lot of intersectionality involved with the players in the WNBA, and I just simply do not know if my people can be trusted to have the range and the depth to lead appropriately, because we have not proven to be able to even vote in our own interests, let alone like in the interests of Black women. So at this point, here's where I'm at. We need to get Cathy gone for sure. That's a no-brainer at this point. I'm just looking for somebody to hold down the fort until we can get NECA. She can ascend the throne as Madam Commissioner, because that's all. That's where I'm at.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned the intersectionality thing, because when she said that quote on CNBC, she was talking about how the WNBA is at the intersectionality of music and fashion and sports and
Culture.
what do
What do
you
you
know,
mean?
Cathy, about any of those things? What do you know about any of those things? Your blazers don't fit. You wear those logo heels like you bought them off of Fanatics on clearance. I don't see you getting involved in any music things. What are you talking about? You are not the person who sits at the intersection of any of that stuff. And to your point, like, we need somebody in charge of this league that understands all of the different business aspects and cultural aspects of the sport. And again, to your point, I don't think there's a white woman out there or a white man out there that's built to do it. I see a lot of people like talking about Candace Parker and Shanae Ogumake, and I'm just like, now we're getting closer to the fire. Like, now we're getting there. Like, I honestly believe that a former player needs to be the head of this league, because where it's going, I think, needs to be influenced by its past. Like, I understand that you want to make all the money and you want to generate revenue and all this, but I think you need somebody in charge of that goal who will do it in respect to the past and who built the league into what it is now. So definitely a great point, Maddy. I certainly think her behavior over the course of the past few seasons has been grounds for replacement fully. And we always joke on here, like, the WNBA gets in its own way, it's getting in its own way, but like, that's real. That's a factual take. I know we're always joking, but like, we see it with teaming negotiations. We've seen it with charter flights, with pregnancies, and now we're seeing it with something as simple as like, hey, let's denounce shitty behavior. Let's say racism's bad. They couldn't even do that right off the jump. Like, I can't stand behind the leadership of this league when its first instinct isn't to protect its players, it's to turn a profit. I can't do that. I can't stand behind it. All right, we're gonna turn the fun back up. We always do this every episode. We get so fired up. We hope you guys get fired up too. I mean, if you're listening, it obviously works. You keep coming back. But we spoke on Sunday about the dramatic race for the final playoff spot. It's a 3-team race for the 8th seed, and we said it was going to be a pretty compelling one. All 3 of the Dream, Sky, and Mystics played a game apiece so far this week. They all have 4 left. And we'll start with the Chicago Sky, who, Maddy, you had holding on to the 8th seed and sneaking into the playoffs. And 40-point drubbing at home. And not only did they get drubbed, it was by the Washington Mystics, the team I was kind of like, ooh, it would be fun if they went on a run. Does that result make you feel a little bit nervous about your prediction?
Well, yes, of course it does. I mean, yeah, I'm nervous, that's for sure. On the other hand, the Mystics did announce today that Shakira Austin's going to be out for the game tomorrow. So I don't know. Maybe Nepo Baby has awoken and he's just realized Paige is back on the table. But I don't know. That did really change. That did really change I just wasn't expecting them to lose that bad. I mean, that was just really a beatdown. But I guess, I mean, the Chicago Sky are not going to go down without a fight. The players were upset in post game on social media and everything. So I feel like they're going to come out guns blazing against the Lynx, who they haven't beaten all season. So it's not looking too good. So yeah, I'm second guessing the pick now. But you know what? I'm sticking with it. I think they're going to pull out a miracle. Kennedy, Camilla, Big Lotto. Come on. They're going to find something. Teaspoon. They're going to find, they're going to pull out something at the last minute. I hope.
I love the confidence in the voice, but the confidence on the face, it was not there. It was not there at all. But someone's confidence I do appreciate. Kennedy Carter for jumping right on Twitter after the game and being like, "We just weren't us tonight. Like we're gonna bounce back." Like, and I know the Sky are really missing the impact from scoring that Marina Mabry provided. But I mean, I agree with you. I think it's a group on paper that has what it takes to get there. They're almost there, and I think they do have what it takes to get there. I really think they just need, like, Rachel Banham, you got to pitch in, girl. You got to pitch in because I know Dana Evans has struggled a little bit this year with changing roles, and you can't come in and put up zero burgers. Like I realize this is a new situation, and it's I don't know, but you went on a little bit of a journey to get to Connecticut. Now you're on a journey to Chicago. Like just let them fly. Like you can't go play 8 minutes and take 2 shots. Like it's not going to work. And how I feel about the Sky right now feels feels very similar to how I feel about the Aces. Like they just don't win unless they have a fourth player scoring in double digits. And you've seen players on the Sky like Michaela Onyenwere and Lindsay Allen. Like these are players who are capable of pitching in 10 to 15 points a night. So getting the guards, I think, at minimum, like getting the guards going at minimum is what they're going to have to do if they want to hang on to this playoff spot. Because we know inside they can go to work even without Angel Reese. You've got Camilla, you've got Izzy Harrison. Like you can function down low. So if they could just get those guards going a little bit, maybe they could sneak in. But on the other side of that is the Mystics. They are 6-4 in their last 10 games, which is better than both the Dream and the Sky in their last 10. And they just sent a massive statement to both of them. And now they get to go to Atlanta for a massive showdown on Friday, tomorrow, probably today when this is out. And you said that the Atlanta Chicago game was going to be appointment television next week, but do folks need to have this one on their big screen?
I mean, I would absolutely. And honestly, that's like what's so fun about this part of the season is these are two teams that we literally thought were dead in the water a few weeks ago. Like we were like, it's over, it's done. And now here they are back in the hunt. And like you said, this is going to be now a pivotal. They have 2 games, so like a pivotal series. We're in for some major drama between the two of them. And honestly, this entire last week is going to be drama because even the teams that aren't fighting for a playoff spot are still fighting for a playoff position, a lot of them. So it's about to be crazy.
And if you thought, Friday's game was enough drama, Atlanta travels to DC. It's a home and home. So they play again on Sunday. So they're going to have 2 shots at each other this weekend, 2 times in 3 days. And these 2 games may ultimately separate one from the other. If it's a sweep, the rest of their schedule, it's a little bit tougher. So both teams sit a game, both Atlanta and Washington sit 1 game off of the 8 seed. Chicago going into this weekend will have Minnesota on the road and then Phoenix at home. So, Maddy, knowing what you know now, how do you see these 2 games shaking out? And who do you think is ultimately sitting in that 8 spot when the dust of the weekend settles?
Okay, well, I just decided after my Chicago take ended up, coming back to bite me just a little bit. I decided to just go full send on this exercise. And
My God.
I decided to pick I decided to pick all of the games that were left and with the teams these 3 teams that are fighting for a playoff spot. So I could figure out the record. And I ended up doing it, went through all of them. And they ended up being in I kid you not, they ended up in a 3-way tie. I didn't even add them. I picked all of the games before I added up any of the, actually looked to see what the final result was going to be. So this was just pure chance. They all ended up tying. 14-26 was the record. That's if Atlanta and Washington both go 2-2 and Chicago goes 1-3. But basically, so if they're all tied, the first tiebreaker is head to head. So I think since Washington has the 3-1 record over Chicago, Chicago would be booted out. And then it would just be Washington, Atlanta. And basically, because of the scheme that I came up with, they tie. So they're 1-1 on the season, and I have them splitting the road home series. So I have them staying tied. So they would actually be the head-to-head, isn't it? So then we have to go to the second tiebreak. The second tiebreak is winning percentage from 500 teams, or against 500 teams. And I literally went and did the math, found their 500 win percentages right now, and then checked which teams that they're playing are above 500. And I kid you not, if everything pans out the way that I said it was going to pan out, Chicago and Atlanta will tie the second tiebreak, and they'll both have 18% winning percentages against 500 and above teams. So then they would have to go to the third tiebreak, and I was not about to do the math on point differential because I couldn't even really understand what the rule was. It was so complicated. So I don't even have a winner, is what I'm here to tell you, because I got a second tie. But literally, I could not make this up, you guys. I was literally sitting there like, are you kidding me? I literally did this just so that I could have an actual evidence to give you my answer this time instead of just going off the wall. I mean, Chicago. Well, I got no answer. But don't fear, Sky fans, because remember, I said that Chicago was going to go 1-3. And I did that because, well, they're 0-3 against Minnesota, so I have them losing that. They're 0-2 against Phoenix on the season, and I have them winning because Phoenix has been trash lately, and they're really going to need to win after they lose to Minnesota in my scheme again. And then I have them losing to Atlanta. They're 2-1 against Atlanta, but Atlanta, again, is going to need to win, and they're at Atlanta. And then they play Connecticut. So the bottom line is that's why I have them going 1-3. And I really hope they actually are able to snag one of those other games, and then we won't even have to worry about it.
The stunned look, I like glanced over at our podcast notes while Matty was going through all of that, and I reacted to they're tied against 500 teams or above. I reacted to that like 30 seconds before Matty got there. I was stunned. Stunned that there is a possibility that there is a third tiebreaker
I was
that
stunned
it might have to come down to. I don't understand it. And that's a really good point you just made about the actual playoff team still jockeying for seeding, because my comment earlier this week was, oh, well, maybe somebody can steal one if like they're resting. Well, is anybody going to be resting? Is New York the only team that's safe? And I think that's the team I was referencing. So this is going to be a very, very good week of WNBA basketball. I'll tell you that right now. There was a lot of chaos, as evidenced by Maddie's research. Even Maddy, who like can come up with a researched and well thought out answer for everything, got stumped by the WNBA. So briefly looking ahead into early next week, we kind of touched on a few of them, but the Dreams' pivotal 3-game stretch ends with the showdown against Chicago. That game's on Tuesday, and the Washington Mystics will host the Liberty on the same night, so they'll play on Tuesday. And all three teams close out their season on Thursday with a difficult game. So they're all playing top teams: Chicago, Connecticut, Atlanta, New York, Washington, Indiana. I don't know what the seeding situation is going to look like, but I don't know if anybody's going to be resting. Like, this is just might be a full tilt. We're going hard all the way to the finish. So, I mean, I asked you to try and to predict things. I don't know what we're going to do at this point, but do you feel like we'll know where things stand on Wednesday? after the Tuesday games have finished, or do you think we're going to have like a decision day type of situation on Thursday that we talked about earlier this week?
Well, if my scheme comes true, they're all going to be 14 and 25 on Tuesday. So, yeah, it's going to be the most insane decision day ever. And it's all going to come down to the last minute. And the New York Liberty Atlanta game could be crazy because the Liberty could hypothetically be picking their opponent in a sense. They could decide if it all is coming down to that, they could literally be deciding right then and there if they want to win or lose, if they want to play Atlanta or if they want to play, whoever. So I'm going to be bringing my popcorn out. I'm going to have my popcorn out all week. It's just going to be exciting. And we're going to have a million screens because once again, the games are all at the same fucking time. Like on decision day, it makes sense, right? Because you're trying to do it so the teams can't like find out about other people. They do that in every league. The rest of the season, no. Especially 3 at the same time. If you want to do 2, it's okay, fine, whatever. I get it. Especially sometimes 3 or 4 games on at the same fucking time. Are you serious? What kind of deranged person are you? Sorry.
It's just going to be fun. I'm going to tell you that right now. Figure out whatever second screen, main screen, whatever screen you're going to put it on. Make sure you've got a few of them because you're going to want to be keeping up. It's definitely not just going to go down as easy as possible because, like we said, this is the WNBA. So it's going to be hot chaos all the way to the end. So don't miss it. Speaking of a hot minute, it's been a hot minute since we've done this segment, but by now we've had enough discourse happen. New idiots have spawned on the timeline. So, girls, gays, theys, it is officially time for the wet blanket of the week.
You are going to be underpaid.
I utilized a descriptor that I certainly should not have.
Well, guess what, Monica McNutt? I could have done less. Hey, anyone want to buy a wet blanket?
It's still funny. It's still funny every time I hear it. I was far too busy today to roll out a graphics package, so apologies to the video watchers for the lack of pizzazz. I saw way too much out-of-pocket shit today on Twitter just this morning. Like literally just this morning, I rolled over in bed and it was just absolute chaos. So we had to get this segment in. I'm going to let Maddy get us started because as soon as I saw the stat head graphic when she sent me this tweet, I knew we were in for something stupid. So Maddy, please.
So this is the stat head versus feature, which I wish they never created. And somebody captioned this. It's Alyssa Thomas and Caitlin Clark. Somebody captioned it and said, "How do they have Cece behind both of these players in MVP race? LOL." So, where to begin with this? I think the problem is that these people don't actually watch basketball. And like we know that, but like I just really want to emphasize like they do not watch basketball because the fact that you're even like comparing Alyssa Thomas and Caitlin Clark in this way is just asinine. And then being like, why do they have her behind? First of all, I haven't really seen that many people talking about Alyssa Thomas ahead of Caitlin Clark in the MVP race. So I'm not sure where that came from in the first place. Second of all, we're literally talking about like 5th or 6th place votes here. So I don't know. Last time I checked, we weren't really flexing 5th place votes for MVP. I don't know. Maybe that's just not my thing that I'm doing. But I also just have to say that these people, it seems like that when they do these stat head, like the versus graphics, they literally just go off of like whichever green boxes are shaded, like whoever has more boxes wins. Mind you, like one of the boxes is 3-point percentage and Alyssa Thomas has 0. She's
literally a 0.
Take 3s. Like she literally has 2 torn labrums. So the whole thing is just stupid. I wish they never created this. I think I'm almost like ready to say that all box scores need to be paywalled because I'm just tired of like stats being taken out of context so severely like this. Like, and I am anybody who follows me on Twitter knows I know how to craft a fucking narrative. Back in my day, we simply twisted stats to fit our narrative. We didn't make shit up or lie or like act crazy and delusional. We just found a way to you have to be creative. You have to put some effort in, get some elbow grease in there and think something up, but you can't. All you can do, type it in, and then comes up, oh, look at Caitlin's having a better season. Look at like, oh my God. And for the last time, there's two sides to the basketball. There are two sides to the fucking game. You can't be in the MVP conversation when you're getting waved off on defense still. Like you're getting subbed out for defensive possessions in the clutch time. Like get real. What MVP is getting subbed out if we really want to fucking go there? So I'm over it. I'm over it. I wish there was a way to ban images because I would ban StatHead versus player images from ever being seen on my feed.
I think I'm just convinced that the people who use these graphics see that green box light up in these stat head comparisons, and they're just like, no logic is left after that. Like all logic just goes out the window when a green box lights up. They'll say Caitlin has a case for MVP over Asia because she's played more games. She's played one more game. Like just because the green box is lit up, that she's played one more game, it's like, oh, it's green. Well, I mean, we could have a conversation about the amount of games played here. Like, there's literally like one person sitting in first class and one person sitting in economy. You're on the same plane. You're going to land at the same time. Everybody's going to play the same amount of games. Unless they get hurt, they're going to play the same amount of games. Like, let's be real. Let's just try to like use our brains and use some logic. That's it. Let's just try and be a little smart. I understand swear. Let's just be a little smart. So I also leaned back into the Caitlyn discourse a little bit for mine, and it started bringing some other tweets from that part of the fandom into play. And I saw a stupid fan account of hers who said this entire sentence without a drop of irony. I said it then, and I'll say it now. The Aces drafted Kate Martin as a pet. Now, of course, Kate is an amazing player and has been great, but I see the Mean Girls for what they are. Are you serious? Are you absolutely entirely serious? And it was that meme, poetry in motion, of it's two dumb bitches telling each other exactly. There's 5 people in this thread all telling each other, yeah, you're so right. That makes so much sense. I'm like the look on my face when I saw that tweet, and like it wasn't ironic in any sense. There was no irony. Like on this pod alone, we have talked about how Asia like went out of her way on a road trip to buy Kate gifts and a cake on her birthday. Like she's currently making a living just like being in Tip Hayes' TikToks, like just living in those things. She does the Finn and Noggin handshake with Asia in warm-ups every single game. Like, how can you say with a straight face that these are mean girls? Like, I is it because Caitlyn got herself whacked in the face going after Jackie the other night? Is it because the Aces have just been like whooping their asses and making your girl look bad? Like, again, it's giving jealousy. It's giving you. It's giving, Maddy, any ideas what's going on with this?
All I have is their literally just jealous of the fact that Kate gets to hang out with the likes of Tip Hayes and Asia Wilson and Kelsey Plum and Chelsea Gray. Like, literally, these are like some of the hottest women you will ever see in your life. And she is just like around them all the time. And like, she loves them and like constantly just like talks about how great everybody is and like how lucky she is to be there. And I feel like honestly they just like hate that because they have created this narrative that like, oh my god, she's in a horrible situation there and like everyone's like hates her and everyone's evil to her because she's the only white girl on the team. Oh my god, even though she's not because Meg's right there and like, you know, but that's just like what I literally did see a tweet too the other day that was somebody said everybody on the Aces is unlikable except Kate Martin. So it's like,
wonder why that is. Let me pull out my handy dandy skin tone detector. Because I saw that same tweet and somebody replied and said, oh, and also Meg.
Right. And Kelsey Plum's Puerto Rican, so
And yeah, she's Puerto Rican, so she doesn't count. Like, it's pretty obvious.
Jesus, people. Like, I mean,
somebody in that thread that I was just talking about where I found this tweet said that the Aces intentionally drafted Kate Martin to block the Fever from getting her. Like, do you think that they're that calculated? They have that deep of a beef, the Aces organization with the Fever, that they were like, oh, it would be hilarious if we drafted Kate Martin so they couldn't get her.
also no offense, but like that just also shows you don't know what you're talking about because they have Grace Berger and Lexi Hull, which very much are like a Kate Martin archetype. So it wouldn't make any sense for the Fever to draft Kate Martin to begin with.
Or is it all just made up narratives?
It's just a conspiracy, though.
In their heads.
It's all a conspiracy. In fact, everyone's in on it.
Right.
It's like actually what I actually found out earlier today is that actually the entire WNBA is being run by a shadow government. And it's Cheryl Swoops is at the top. She's the head honcho. She's running everything. So everything that's happening, all the abuse that Caitlin is suffering, it's all connected.
Don't let this get clipped because it's going to get clipped out of context. And then they're going to look at the pod and be like, oh, no, it's them queers. They're not on our side.
I'm already on the hit list, so they already know.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm already quite the hater.
Yeah, that was the worst part about coming back from our hiatus for sure, was to see the Stan behavior and the discourse ramping back up like we were fresh out of May, and God, was it annoying back then. But like we said, anything for $1, right? Anything for the almighty dollar. Anywho, that will do for another episode of the Flagrant Femmes. Look at us. We kept it under an hour and a half, which is impressive, considering like we just yapping our way to an hour and a half.
Yep.
I hope you enjoy it. If not, I'm guessing you're probably dipping out at some point. But we chatted up football a lot last weekend. Your endorsement as a Washington fan did not help my team, Texas Tech, in Pullman. Washington State embarrassed us. It was embarrassing for me. It was embarrassing for the team. It was embarrassing for everybody. Now we've got to play North Texas at home. Maybe you can bless North Texas for me and get a reverse jinx going.
Okay. I did some research actually. So to make sure that I could actually give North Texas a good blessing. Because as you can imagine, I don't know anything about North Texas. It was really hard for me to think up anything. So I looked at their notable alumni, and they actually have some kind of legends. So drag icon Alyssa Edwards, North Texas alum icon. Nora Jones, legend icon, North Texas. What more can I say? I mean, it's a school of icons, so they have to win. And I hope they do it for the girls. That's
I just
it.
have to say that when I was typing up like the segment in the notes talking about football, and I like looked in here before this started, and all I see is Alyssa Edwards and Nora Jones. There was no accompanying context with either of those names. And I kind of thought Maddie was maybe just taking notes for something that she thought of in the moment and was going to come back to it later. But no, that was actually a really, really great response with both of those names in the same context. That's incredible. Had no idea that either one of them went to North Texas. So another well
The
done.
more you know.
Yeah, that really is like a the more you know situation. I'm definitely not confident in Texas Tech whatsoever, so I will cling on to my fantasy football teams, and then I will cling on to the W playoffs, and then hockey will start inevitably once all of that falls apart. So football, what a sport! Hopefully the Aces won't let me down in the playoffs, but I don't know. All right, so we'll go ahead and check out of here. Make sure you send Maddie well wishes for her brand trip. I mean, totally personally planned trip to Seattle, not a brand trip. It's not a brand trip. Here's to a Storm win for you. Hopefully they get a big win for you, and Rakia balls out because you're excited to see Rakia. So
I trust
as
basketball Ted Allen to fumble it like he always
yep,
does.
yep, always standing in the shadows, waiting to do something nefarious. That is Kurt Miller. As always, we will catch you guys on Twitter. We're at Flagrant Femmes. We're going viral finally. Shout out Maddie. Smash that follow if you haven't already, and we'll see you next week. So remember, mess with the Femmes, catch a flagrant.
Going up.